Hello and welcome to this video about information. We'll be talking about good information, bad information, and conspiracy theories. For most of human history, information was rare and hard to obtain. It is estimated that a single issue of the New York Times contains more information than an average person would likely come across in their entire lifetime if they lived 400 years ago when William Shakespeare was alive. Think how valuable and life-changing it would have been for someone living in Shakespeare's time to have access to something like a national daily newspaper. But now we are living in a time of information explosion. We have so much information that we pass by daily newspapers without giving them a second thought. Someone described the time we're living in now this way, saying, "We are drowning in knowledge and starving for wisdom." In the world today, most information, most of the time, is just noise. It's neutral. It's not helping us. It's not harming us. What we want, what we need, is wisdom, which is knowing why the information matters. Wisdom is how we distinguish between noise, good information, and bad information. With so much information, where do we start? I think a very good place to start is with the complexity of being you. And a good place to start there is the autonomic nervous system. It is a biological reality that applies to you, me, your neighbor, everyone. And this biological reality is that there is an objective, measurable difference in your body and in your behavior when you are afraid or in a crisis. The sympathetic autonomic nervous system is sometimes called the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic autonomic nervous system is sometimes called rest and digest. You are literally a different version of yourself when you're afraid or in a life-threatening situation. Now, another way to describe the autonomic nervous system is the tightrope and the field. On the tightrope, you have narrow focus, and everything is life or death. This narrow focus is part of your body's fight or flight response. And when you are safe and calm, you can relax, and your attention and your focus becomes wider. This is your body's rest and digest response. But the main point here is that you are a different version of yourself when you are afraid or in a life-threatening situation. I am a different version of me when I'm afraid or in a life-threatening situation. Your best friend, your family, your parents, your boss, right, your neighbor, we're all different versions of ourselves, objectively, measurably different when we are afraid or in a life-threatening situation. As you move from the tightrope to the field, you start dealing with greater levels of complexity. Now, nature's solution for complexity is tension and balance. Your biceps and triceps are a good example. These are muscles in your body, and muscles only pull in one direction. So muscles work in pairs that pull in opposite directions, creating a natural, healthy balance. So your biceps pulls your fist toward your body, toward your shoulder, and when your triceps pulls, it moves your fist away from your shoulders, away from your body. These two muscles work in healthy tension together. Respecting that healthy tension is how you build those muscles. It wouldn't make any sense to try to make your biceps bigger and stronger by destroying your triceps. If you destroyed your triceps, your biceps would also they'd wither away and they would be destroyed. We need that healthy tension, and that healthy tension and healthy balance is how nature handles and creates complexity. Privacy and security is another example of complexity. These are both good things, just like your biceps and your triceps muscles are both good. They work together in balance. Privacy is a good. Everybody wants privacy. Security is good. Everybody wants to be safe and secure. But these two good things work in opposite balance. If we put cameras up in public places, that would have the advantage of increasing security. If somebody were to set off a bomb in a trash can while a marathon was going on, we could go back to the public cameras and the footage on those public cameras, and with proper authority and permission, analyze that information and look for who was there and who placed the bomb and track where that person went. And we could take a threat, a terrorist, somebody, we could find them more quickly, take them off the streets more quickly, and convict them more easily if we had those cameras in public places. But that security, that safety, comes with a trade-off, a give and take with privacy. Right? So if you tell your boss you're going to meet with a client and you actually are going to Kmart or to Walmart, right, and you're using public streets to get there and there's cameras on those public streets, that information's being recorded. And if somebody has access to that information, they might know that you didn't go meet with the client, you actually went to the store. This trade-off, good versus good, is not the simple case of good versus bad. Good versus bad is easy, right? Just choose good. Where things get complicated is when we have this healthy balance between good and good, like biceps and triceps, like privacy and security. To think that privacy and security is a good versus bad perspective, a good versus bad issue, misses the complexity that exists naturally in nature in the real world. As you move from the tightrope to the field, you start dealing with more complexity, more perspectives. The image of the man is not changing, but you can see him facing two different ways by allowing your perspective to change. The girl is the same in both pictures, but your understanding of the girl changes when you allow your perspective to change. Changing your perspective does not change your circumstance. It doesn't put any more money into your bank account. It doesn't make your problems disappear. However, viewing complex situations from multiple perspectives does provide you with a better understanding of the situation and therefore allows you to make better decisions. Your brain provides you with 4 perspectives for processing information: survival, social, science, and human spirit. Our brains are so good at switching between these 4 perspectives that we often take it for granted that we can use these perspectives seamlessly. To show you how good you are at switching these perspectives and using the right lens, the right perspective, the right filter, at the right time in the right way, consider how the words "my heart hurts" has different meaning depending on the context. If you say "my heart hurts" to your best friend, that means something very different than if you say "my heart hurts" to your cardiologist. You're saying the exact same words, but the context, the nuance is different. And we as human beings make this switch between perspectives seamlessly and easily. It's incredibly difficult to try to get a computer to do this. Even the most advanced AI systems do not have the common sense and the ability to switch perspectives this easily. If you say "my heart hurts" and you're just thinking it to yourself when you're feeling chest pains, right, that triggers your survival perspective and becomes, hey, wait a second, is this a life or death situation? If it is, then I'm going to go into tightrope mode and I'm going to simplify everything and nothing else is going to matter except not dying. And that's a good thing because we want to survive. And the spirit perspective, when we say "my heart hurts," we're speaking in yet another way of use of language. Here we're being poetic, not literal. Here we're speaking about experience, not external things around us. And to express human spirit, we use language intentionally non-literally. We are poetic. We are exaggerating. We are creating images in our minds that communicate truths that are experiential truths, not necessarily the things that a scientist would see. There are things in your life that matter that aren't made of matter. There are things that weigh on your life that can't be weighed on a scale. And human spirit is where we see and process and understand and speak about these things. A poem is a great way of expressing human spirit. My heart hurts might be expressed in a poem this way: if someone hurts you, still leave your heart open. This is how the pain will find an exit. Signed, An Exit. So let's quickly look at those four perspectives. As our brains evolved, the oldest part of our brain is the reptile brain. It is designed for surviving. And we are a different version of ourselves when we are afraid or in a life-threatening situation. We are a reptile version of ourselves. We are a survival version of ourselves. And that can be a good thing, right? When you're afraid or in a crisis, you become narrow-minded in a good way, right? The best possible way. If you were to somehow find yourself on a tightrope, 20 stories in the sky with no safety net below you, and you had to walk across this tightrope, in that moment when you find yourself there, whatever you were thinking about 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, whatever problems or concerns were weighing on your mind, whatever text messages that you were bothered about that you wanted to send or somebody didn't respond to, whatever you were thinking about having for dinner next Friday when you meet some friends at a restaurant, whatever paper you were working on for school or your job, none of those things would matter anymore. Because all that would matter is putting that next foot in exactly the right place. Because if you put it right here, you live. And if that next foot goes anywhere else, you die. Your body helps you survive this crisis situation by narrowing your focus. Your autonomic nervous system gets tight, right? Your focus gets strong. The parts of your brain that are intense and narrow, and your adrenaline is pumping, and you are incredibly focused in this moment. That's a good thing if you find yourself in a tightrope. Now, you're probably not going to find yourself in a tightrope without a net 10 stories, 20 stories above the ground, but you might find yourself in a fire. You might find yourself in a crisis situation where people around you are panicking and your life might actually be in real danger. And in that situation, your survival perspective is going to do its part to help you survive. Whatever you were worried about, whatever you're planning on having for dinner next Friday, whatever report you were writing for school or for work, those things don't matter when the house is on fire. Your focus becomes narrow in a good way. The social perspective. This is as our brains emerged, and mammals, the mammalian brain, we developed our ability to work together, our social creatures. We are complex social animals. We all want to be seen and heard. We all want to love and to be loved. We want a home for our identity. The social perspective is where we process this information. Once we survive, we then want to thrive. And the social perspectives helps us understand how we thrive as an individual and how we thrive with others around us. Maslow's hierarchy is perhaps the most well-known summary of the complexity of human progress and having your needs met. And at your basic lowest level needs, your physiological needs, if you don't have air, if you don't have food or water, right, all your body cares about is getting air, getting food, getting water. That Maslow's hierarchy with those levels there, I've represented those with the tightrope field, narrow focus, broad focus overlaid over Maslow's hierarchy. And I think it does a good job of helping us think about Maslow's hierarchy in this way. As needs are met at one level, we move up a level and our focus gets wider. And as our needs are met at that level, we move up a level and our focus is able to get wider. And if we're fortunate enough, one of the few people who ever make these higher levels, we might get to actually work on our esteem and our self-actualization. And when we do so, we will do so in a field mindset, not a narrow tightrope mindset. The science perspective and the human spirit perspective can be closely associated with the newer part of our brain, the newest part of our brain, the neocortex. And it helps us achieve a balance between that objective, impersonal science thinking and the subjective, reflective, experiential human spirit. So, the science perspective, this is how we distinguish between rational fear and irrational fear. The science perspective, this is how we add days to our life. Richard Feynman, a great physicist from last century, said this line. It's a great line, right? The first principle of science is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Critical thinking from the science perspective is not being critical of other people. It's not sitting on your porch and complaining about the people as they go by, complaining about the clothes they're wearing, complaining about how loud the music is, complaining about the radio station they're listening to, the television station they're watching, right? That's not critical thinking from a scientific perspective. From a scientific perspective, critical thinking is being critical of your own thinking to avoid fooling yourself. Gravity is part of the natural physical world around us and applies to all of us. And gravity does not change based on your morals, your faith, or your opinion. Critical thinking is not fooling yourself into thinking you understand something about gravity that you don't understand. Now, the human spirit perspective, this is also part of our neocortex. This is that balance between the objective thinking of science to now the subjective, experiential, conscious experience. Right? The mystery of human consciousness, what it feels like to be you. It's this human spirit perspective. When we embrace this and explore this space, that we add life to our days. When someone gets married and you say, tell me about your new fiance, you don't expect them to give you a scientific list of their exact height and their exact hair color and their exactly where they went to school and what they had for breakfast 3 days ago. There's a lot of factual, objective truths about the person you're going to marry that people are not asking you when they say, tell me about your fiance. It's okay for you to speak in non-literal, poetic language. So, tell me about the person you're going to marry. Well, when I am with him, I am the person I want to be. When I am with her, I feel like the world is right. He is my soulmate. She completes me. He makes me feel like I'm floating on air. She makes my heart feel bigger. Now, I don't think the person really thinks they're levitating, and I don't think the other person really thinks that their heart is expanding, but I understand what they're speaking. They're not trying to be literal. They're speaking experiential. Okay, so what does that have to do with good information? What is good information? Well, good information helps you manage the complexity of you and the complexity of the real world by balancing your brain's four perspectives of survival, social, science, and spirit. Good information addresses the reason why, the wisdom. Right? Good information from the survival perspective is about helping you survive during a time of crisis. Good information from the social perspective is about helping you thrive as a person and thrive in society. Good information from the science perspective is about helping you live longer, about adding days to your life. And good information from the human spirit perspective is about helping you live life more fully, adding life to your days. Okay, so what is bad information? And also, why is there so much bad information out there, right? I mean, we are more divided than any of us can remember as long as we've been alive. What's going on there? Why is all this division happening? Why is all this bad information going on? Is it because there's so many bad people? To help explore this issue, I've been asking the following moral scenario to many different groups, including students, on surveys, and gathering this information to see if we're having a bad people problem. So here's the scenario. Someone inside your local community is mixing chemicals to intentionally cause harm to others. Because of these chemicals, some people in your community are getting sick, and some animals in your community have been dying. So, two parts. First, would you confront the person by yourself? The person mixing chemicals. Would you confront them by yourself in this scenario? And the second part, would you join with others and confront the person together? So I asked this question to many different people and looking at the results. And one thing that I'm glad to say is that the division in our society, it's not because we have so many bad people, right? Most people are good people. Most people are willing to step up and prevent someone from abusing others, to prevent someone from causing harm, causing children to get sick, causing animals to die, right? So that was good news, that most people are going to stand up against these abusers. Now, the division in our society is not because we have too many bad people. It's because we have too much bad information. Just a few hundred years ago, people were being accused, tried, and executed for using witchcraft to cause children to get sick and crops and animals to die. And if you said yes to either of the above questions about confronting somebody because children are getting sick and animals are dying, well, then you might have been one of the people killing some of your neighbors based on bad information. The thing about bad information is it can make good people do bad things, harming themselves and harming others. Bad information. Well, good information is respectful of people and it helps people achieve their goals. Bad information manipulates people and causes harm. Misinformation is false or misleading information that is spread regardless of its intent to mislead. Disinformation is knowingly spreading false or misleading information for the purpose of manipulating others for personal gain. And when it comes to disinformation, the most manipulative disinformation is fear-mongering and gaslighting. Fear-mongering hijacks the social perspective to manipulate and control people. Remember, you're a different version of yourself when you're afraid or in a crisis situation, even if that crisis situation is made up by fear-mongering. Gaslighting hijacks the social perspective, the trust perspective, distorting how people see themselves, how people see their neighbors, and how people see their society as a whole. Okay, so what does all this have to do with conspiracy theories? Well, fear-mongering and gaslighting damage social trust, which makes people vulnerable to conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are about lacking trust in the people with power and authority. Here's a list of 10 actual conspiracy theories ranked from obscure to rather extreme. Big Pharma conspiracy theory, the global warming hoax conspiracy theory, the JFK conspiracy theory, 9/11 was an inside job conspiracy theory, chemtrails conspiracy theory, false flag shootings conspiracy theory, moon landing shooting, video shooting, right? Faked conspiracy theory, UFO cover-up conspiracy theory, flat earth conspiracy theory, and reptile overlords, the theory that the ruling classes are a race of shape-shifting, trans-dimensional reptiles. If you choose to believe that NASA is a corrupt and powerful organization spreading lies about the space station, the moon landing, and falsely claiming that the Earth is round, well, no one can prove to you that you are wrong. It's up to you to figure out and determine, how would I know if I'm being manipulated? How would I know if I'm responding out of fear? If my morality has been hijacked? How would I know these things? Right? Because the rabbit hole will never end for victims of fear-mongering and gaslighting. So in conclusion, good information. Good information helps you manage the real-world complexity by balancing the four good perspectives of survival, social, science, and spirit. These four perspectives have been optimized in our brains over time, through evolution, through years and years and years, to survive, to thrive, to live longer, and to live better. Bad information, especially fear-mongering and gaslighting, can make good people do bad things that harm themselves or others. And conspiracy theories are problems of trust, not problems of facts. Conspiracy theories are often caused by fear-mongering and gaslighting.